A lot of fans criticize John for his America fixation. How much do you think that going off to conventions affected the time he had available?
When he goes to these conventions, he has to get permission from the head of department to do so. I gather that usually goes through on the nod. At first, it didn't encroach upon his work in that way. He started going to more and more of them. A lot of them would be at weekends. What had become apparent though, if he'd gone off for a weekend convention to America, he would come into work on Monday straight from the plane. It was as though he wanted to go to the conventions, but wanted to show everyone that nothing was distracting him from his duties as producer, so he would do the lunatic thing of coming back Sunday/Monday morning, coming into the office, and just shutting the door, and going to sleep. He is obsessed with the American fans. I gather that he sanctions who can go to America and who can't. It's very difficult obviously, to control actors who are no longer working on the show, and are obviously the fan conventions want the leading actors and the companions. But you'll find that writers were never invited. I mean someone like Robert Holmes, who's written God knows how many stories, has been involved in it since Patrick Troughton's days, edited the show for 3 years, a man very experienced in writing for television who would have had a great deal to offer any audience who would bear to listen. Men like him were never invited. Only 2 directors ever went, that I was aware of.
When John originally started, he said he was only going to do it for a short time anyway. He would only do it for 3 years or so.
I think the main draw for him, apart from the fact that he has got his fingers in so many pies, is the income from the conventions in America, which I think is quite a lot of money. I think that is something he is reluctant to give up.
It has also been said that he doesn't like any of the fans working for the BBC.
Well, he's obsessed about keeping everything secret. But the one thing that again aggravates when someone takes a 2.5 to 3 hour lunch break every day is that you know that you're not going to be able to speak to him between that time. There's no 2 ways about it. He will come back if something has come up, but it's a ritual. He trots out at 12:30 and comes back after closing time.
I believe there have been times when you've urgently wanted to speak to him and he's been on the phone.
Oh, yes, that got rather silly and unpleasant. He went through a phase a couple of years ago of spending a lot of time on the phone, I think to America, certainly to the various convention organizers, most of them are in America, and we had the lunatic situation one day. I was standing outside the office, I needed to see him, and 2 of his directors needed to see him, and he'd been there chatting on the phone, as far as the secretary was concerned, for at least an hour. It just wasn't once, it was often, and with people waiting to see him, waiting to make the goddamn show he was supposed to be the producer of. It was anything that would come up. I mean, he'd rather read a manuscript from W.H. Allen, or spend hours piddling about with some crappy piece of merchandising from Enterprises than willingly become involved in talking about what we were doing. I can't understand it.